Good morning, everybody. It's Deborah Byrne from Deborah Byrne Psychology Services, known as DBpsychology across social media. This morning I'm going to talk about this week's blog. I'm not going to talk about the whole blog, it's very lengthy, so you can check it out at www.deborahbyrnepsychologyservices.com. It's all about narcissistic behaviour. It's a personality disorder and also part of the dark triad. I spoke about that a few weeks ago with psychopaths, and these guys and girls are just the same in terms of their behaviour. So I think sometimes the media gets very confused between the three, and in films and TV shows they can portray a psychopath when in fact they're talking about a sociopath or a narcissist, and they've mixed them all up. They're very, very similar. The traits are very similar. A lot of them are overlapping. And I'd also say that with narcissists, you can also have somebody who has narcissistic behaviour or symptoms. So, you know, there is a chance that, you know, somebody who has who displays a lot of the symptoms but doesn't have narcissistic personality disorder itself. Now, in saying that, basically, and I'm talking basically, so you can check out the full list on the blog, but basically they're very preoccupied with themselves. They're preoccupied with getting their own needs met, very similar to a psychopath and a sociopath. They're very preoccupied in terms of, as long as they're getting their needs met, and they will exploit and manipulate the people in their lives. Now, that could be somebody you're working with, or it could be somebody that they're in a relationship with. It could also be a child. There are a lot of books out there written by adults who have survived being raised by narcissists. So, if you are one of those, you can go check them out. There are lots of them out there. There are also a lot of support groups out there for people who have survived relationships or even working relationships with a narcissist. More so than you'll find about psychopaths or sociopaths. You will find a lot of help out there for people who have survived narcissistic personality disorder types. They are very good at honing in on who they can manipulate, just like a psychopath, just like a sociopath. So any of the techniques that are in the blog can be used or transcribed to be used with any of the dark triad. So, they will spot if you're somebody that can be manipulated easily by them. It doesn't mean you can be manipulated by everybody, because remember, these people are very, very crafty, very charming, very good at what they do. They're very skilled at what they do. So don't feel too bad if you've been conned by somebody like this. They are really, really deadly. They are also just as lethal as a psychopath or a sociopath. They are capable of being violent. They are capable of murder. So you have to be careful. You have to know what these people are capable of. You have to know what they're like. So that's why, as I said before, this is why I write these blogs, so people get the information and the correct information they need. Now, in moving on, in terms of how they're diagnosed, there's a 40 questionnaire inventory that is used for narcissistic personality disorder, which have to be used by a psychiatrist usually, or a psychologist who specialises in these personality disorders. There is therapy is known to help, but, and it's a big but, the likelihood of you getting a narcissist into therapy is very small. And they usually, if you're in a relationship and you do get them into therapy, they will very quickly seeing that you're the one with the problem, not them. If the therapist is not experienced at having dealing with a narcissist, the narcissist can unfortunately manipulate them. If even a psychiatrist or a psychologist, if they haven't got the experience of dealing with somebody like this before, we're all human and we could be manipulated by these people. Now, there's basically no cure in terms of treatment. As I said, and it's a big if they can get in, if you get them to go to treatment, or if they go to treatment, that would be huge. Probably not likely to happen. Very, very small percentage. And I'm talking about 0.0% of them getting into treatment. They just don't see themselves as needing treatment. They have a very grandiose, idea of themselves. As I said, they're very absorbed. They're very, it's all about them basically. So not likely to go into treatment at all. There is no cure. Basically, there is no cure. Like psychopaths or sociopaths, there is no cure. In terms of it does and can coexist with other things. Specifically, I'm talking along the lines of an addiction. They can develop an alcohol addiction in particular, but it could be drugs or gambling or any sex addiction, or not likely to develop an eating disorder, but don't rule anything out with these people. Now, in terms of if you are or have been in a relationship, if you've been in a relationship or if you've worked with somebody like this, I don't need to tell you how bad they are. I don't need to tell you that you need to run away from these people and get away from them as quickly as possible, just as you would a psychopath or a sociopath. You can't cure them. You can't change them. They will manipulate, they will lie, they will exploit you to the fullest until you are of no use to them, and then they will discard you. That is basically what they do. They always need somebody else. They always need somebody else to boost their self-esteem. Somebody that they can put down and make feel lower or less than themselves. Because they need that boost. They need somebody to always boost their self-confidence. They always need somebody to be beneath them. They see people as always being beneath them. They see themselves as being more intelligent than anybody else. So they will always have somebody. So if they have been in a relationship with you or somebody else, they've discarded you, they will very quickly, or usually they will have somebody there already in the background waiting to take your place. So don't feel bad if you're going to leave them. They're not capable of loving you. They really aren't. Not in a true sense. Not in a true sense of loving somebody unconditionally. They're not capable of that type of relationship. Their boundaries are very skewed, and they will skew your boundaries. So having good boundaries, I would suggest is one of the most important things you can do for yourself, is to make sure your boundaries are in place, and to make sure then that you have very good boundaries in your relationships when you're dealing with people. If you do decide to leave, and I can't advise you whether to or not, I would say that you need to be very, very you need to have all my information in place before you leave them. I would have seen a solicitor on the side. I would have everything, all my paperwork. I would gather as much evidence as possible, because once you leave, or once you get them out of your home, you won't be able to get that information again. It will be changed, it will be manipulated. And as I said, they're very good at manipulating people, judges, court situations. So if you are leaving somebody in that relationship and you've been married to them, or you have children with them, make sure you have everything lined up before you even give them a hint that you are going to leave them. I would also talk to something like Women's Aid in Ireland, or in the UK, or Refuge, or whoever it is that deals with domestic violence in the country in which you are living. They usually will have a partner that they will, as I said, keep down. They will have control of the finances. You will be somebody who has suffered domestic violence or is suffering domestic violence. You need advice. You need a safety plan. You need you need to protect yourself, because they get very vindictive when you leave them. They get very, very vindictive. Even as a boss and you go to leave, they can get very, very, very vindictive, when you go to leave them. So, in terms of working with somebody, if they're not your boss, I would suggest that you keep a polite, you can be polite and civil, but keep a distance from them. You can be open-minded enough to take on their opinion and listen to them, but do your own thing in the end. And they can have very good opinions, and just because they're narcissists doesn't mean they're not intelligent and they know they don't know what's going on in the business world. They do. So, be open-minded enough to treat them with the same respect as you would with any other colleague, but I would be keeping them at a distance. I wouldn't be having them as your best friend. I wouldn't be, keep a little bit of a distance there. Make sure your own boundaries are very, very well, very good in terms of this particular type of colleague. I would, be checking my boundaries constantly with them. If in terms of a boss, be prepared that this type of person will, take credit for your work. They will manipulate other people around you. They will manipulate you. They may end up threatening you. As I said, they can be very vindictive. My suggestion is that you actually watch how they treat people who are of no use to them at all. If you can take time and you suspect you're working with somebody like this, take time, step back and just watch them and observe them. And you will actually see how they treat somebody that isn't of use. If you are of use to them, they will be manipulating, they will be charming to you, you'll be in the crowd, you'll be in the group. But once you're of no use, you'll be excluded. You'll be gone as far as they're concerned. And that's the same with a relationship, any type of relationship with them, whether you're a child of them or you have been a child of them, whether you're, they will keep manipulating you as long as you can provide with their needs. They will do that. So there is a lot more. I have a lot, as I said at the start, the blog is very, very lengthy. So do have a look at it. All I say to people is these type of blogs, you're better off being warned, have the correct information that you need, and then if you ever come across somebody like this, at least then you have a reference point in which to protect yourself. And it improves your boundaries. If you have the correct information, this actually improves your boundaries, and therefore you're less likely to be exploited by these people. So I will leave it at that this week. I hope you checked out last week's video. I know I had to re-record it. It was so bad. Facebook was so bad last week. But it was on raising your positivity. There was 14 tips in that blog, but I gave 6 of them in the video. So do check it out as well. And apologies, I have no control over Facebook and the internet, I'm afraid. So I'll say good morning and thank you to Deirdre and Jennifer and Colette for watching. And I'll see you all next week. And have a great week. And thank you very much for listening.